What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing the final NBA mock draft for the 2021 NBA draft. Now, I'm super excited to do this. I'm not going to be doing any trades, and as far as right now in the NBA, there's only been one trade, which has been the Kemba Walker Al Horford trade of this offseason. Hopefully we get some more trades happening. I expect a bunch to happen on draft night. But yeah, I'm super excited for this. Let's just hop right into the video. With the first overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons will be selecting Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State. He's 6'8". He's the best overall player in the draft. I know it's a bit obvious, and every single mock draft has him going on. But who wouldn't take Cade Cunningham at the first overall pick? He could do literally everything. He could shoot the three ball. He's clutch. He could pass very well. He could defend on the inside and the outside. He's probably going to be the best player in 5 years from this draft class. Hopefully he is, for the Detroit Pistons sake. And I've been seeing a lot of people making like trade proposals for the Pistons, trying to trade this #1 overall pick. But if your team had the opportunity to select Cade Cunningham at the one spot, I don't think many teams are going to pass up on that opportunity. But yeah, Cade Cunningham, without a doubt, will be the #1 overall selection on draft night. With the second overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft, I have the Houston Rockets selecting Jalen Green. Now, Green, in my opinion, is the best overall offensive player this entire draft has. I think one point in his career, he could potentially be the best scorer in the entire NBA, and I know that's a bit of a reach, but I have a lot of comparisons to Bradley Beal scoring-wise. I think Jalen Green could get to a spot super easily. He has a solid three-point shot, solid mid-range shot, but when he gets into that paint, it's unstoppable. He's tremendous at reverse layups, dunking the ball over whoever he wants, and him next to Kevin Porter Jr., Christian Wood is going to be outrageous. I was a bit questionable whether or not I wanted to get Evan Mobley instead of Jalen Green and have a little bit of a twin tower lineup in Houston with Christian Wood and Evan Mobley, but I think fit-wise, Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, and Mobley is going to work a bit better than KPJ, Mobley, and Christian Wood. And also, for the Rockets' sake, I'm kind of going to be disregarding John Wall. Hopefully they can trade him or move him during the offseason or by the trade deadline. So I think Houston has nothing to worry about. Jalen Green is going to be an absolute stud for them. With the third overall selection, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers selecting no other than Evan Mobley, by far the best big man in this draft. I think he is going to be a very, very dominant center in this league, similar to Bam Adebayo. He can somewhat stretch the floor. He's unreal on the offensive and defensive glass. He has super strong finishes. Him and Jarrett Allen, if they were to bring back Jarrett Allen, is a bit of a question whether or not he's going to be leaving in free agency or a sign-in trade. And I don't think that really matters too much for Cleveland. I think they just have to take the best available player. Jalen Suggs and Kuminga wouldn't necessarily make sense for the Cavs. Who knows what they're going to be doing with Kevin Love this season. But I think fit-wise, they have to take just the best overall player in this draft. And also, they could technically run Evan Mobley, the 7-footer, at the power forward position and look to move on for Kevin Love or run him off the bench. Who knows what Cleveland's going to do? But I personally think Evan Mobley is the best available player here at 3, and Cleveland just cannot pass up on them. Jalen Suggs is going to be the next starting point guard for the Toronto Raptors, Kyle Lowry's replacement, and I love it. Kyle Lowry is most likely going to be leaving in free agency to a championship contending team, and Jalen Suggs is going to be a perfect fit. Suggs, he's 6'4". He has tremendous court vision. I think he's the best passer in this entire draft. Him, Fred VanVleet, and Pascal Siakam are going to be a very solid big three for the years to come. I'm not anticipating Toronto to be another playoff contending team next year, but who knows? They may surprise a bunch of people. And I actually really like what Toronto's doing right now. They have a bunch of young players, and adding Jalen Suggs to this team is going to be tremendous next to them. And it's still kind of a question whether or not they want to have a two-man rotation or a two-point guard rotation with Fred VanVleet and Jalen Suggs. But personally, I think they could easily just move VanVleet to the 2 position, and I think that's going to work out pretty well for them. But Jalen Suggs is definitely going here at #4 Mark my words. Rounding out the top 5, we have Jonathan Kuminga being selected here at 5th overall by the Orlando Magic. Now, the Magic are lucky. They have 5 and 8 in this draft. They completely lucked out with the Vucevic trade, and they're going full rebuild mode. So I think selecting Jonathan Kuminga is perfect for them. He's a 6'8 player. He has an incredibly long wingspan. He's a great defensive player. He does need a little work on his three-point shot, but hey, Orlando has nothing to worry about. They're not going to be in playoff contention for a couple years to come, most likely, so they have time to develop Jonathan Kuminga. They don't need to rush him. They don't need a win-now player, and I think that's perfect for them. Fultz and John Isaac are most likely going to be back for the Magic this season, and having 2 lockdown defenders down low and Jonathan Kuminga and Jonathan Isaac is going to be perfect for them, and I think the Magic can bring a little bit more fans into the arena, bringing Jonathan Kuminga back to Orlando, where he was kind of familiar with the area already, playing in the bubble for months. So yeah, I think Jonathan Kuminga is going to love it down in Orlando. My team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, are up at 6, and I have them selecting Scottie Barnes from Florida State. I love this kid so much, and I think that's just because I've been watching his film for the past 2 months now, knowing that we're not going to be having a top 5 pick. Pain. But Scottie Barnes is one of the most highest potential players in the draft. So much comparisons to Draymond Green, which I would love. Having a defensive guy on this team, especially next to Lou Dort at the forward position, is going to be perfect for them. Barnes does need a little bit of work on his three-point shot, but he has a very nice form and a very nice shot already, so I don't think it's going to be impossible to really transform this kid into a 3-and-D guy. I also love what he could do when he gets downhill and on a fast break. He's a very solid passer for having a 6'9" frame. So I think the 6th overall pick was taking Scottie Barnes is perfect for them. And to me, there's a bit of a difference. I think Cade Cunningham is obvious an A player or an S player in my opinion. And then Jalen Green, Mobley, and Suggs are all A's. And then Kuminga and Barnes to me are on the same level. And then I feel like once it gets from Scottie Barnes and Jonathan Kuminga, then it's a bit of a drop off to 7. But anyway, yeah, Scottie Barnes, that was a little rant for no reason. Scottie Barnes is going to be a great fit next to Shea and Dort, Pokusevski, Darius Bazley, all those guys. So I'm excited to see what he could do in OKC. The Warriors are ready to be champions again, and they have the 7th overall selection as well as the 14th. But here at 7, oh my god, my voice is correct. But here at 7, I have them selecting Davion Mitchell out of Baylor. The 6'3" point guard could do a lot on the defensive side of the ball, as well as knock down the 3 and feed his teammates with his great court vision. 22 years old already. I think the Warriors aren't going to have to worry too much about developing the point guard. He's going to be coming off the bench, and I think with that second unit, he can really provide a spark for the Golden State Warriors and potentially help lead his team and his second unit to a championship back in the Bay Area. The Magic back up on the clock here at 8, and again, it was a bit of a tough decision, but I have them selecting the pure scorer out of Tennessee, Keon Johnson, who is one of my favorite players actually in this entire draft. I think he's going to be a super underrated player, and I could see him going as high as 5, honestly, to the Magic and dropping to who knows where, but I have him being selected here at 8 by Orlando with their second pick. I think he's an incredible scorer. He's not the best passer, but coming off the bench or potentially starting for this Magic team, he could provide you with a solid 20 points a game. Maybe not in his rookie season, but a few years down the line, he could shoot the 3 ball very well. He's not the best at getting to the paint, but I think he could definitely work on that within the few years he has in Orlando before they have to officially contend for the playoffs. The Sacramento Kings disappointed once again, not making the playoffs, so that means they will be having the 9th overall pick in the draft. And I have them selecting Jalen Johnson out of Duke. He was a freshman last year. He's 6'9", small forward. And to me, he's a very solid all-around player. He's not the best player on the defensive side of the ball, but on offense, he's a good finisher at the rim. He has a solid three-point shot, solid mid-range shot. He's not a very good passer, but you don't really need passing when you have De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton, who was the steal of the draft last year. Where it's kind of in a question in Sacramento is whether or not Buddy Hield's going to be back. Marvin Bagley might be on the move. But I think Jalen Johnson's a very safe pick here. I don't think he has boom potential, but I also don't see him necessarily being a bust in this draft. So I think selecting him at 9 is going to be very solid for them, and I really like this pick for the Sacramento Kings here at 9. With the 10th overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the New Orleans Pelicans are going to be selecting Franz Wagner, the sophomore out of Michigan. Wagner is a very solid three-point shooter in this draft. I was kind of between whether or not I wanted to take Corey Kispert or Franz Wagner, but I think Franz Wagner is a bit of a better offensive player than Kispert. He could do a bit more than just shoot the ball. He has an okay mid-range shot, and he can put the ball on the floor more than Corey Kispert can. And I think stretching the floor at the small forward position or power forward position is going to be perfect for Zion. You have to build around Zion. Get shooters, let him get to the paint, let Zion be a 25 point per game scorer next season. And yeah, that's perfect. Put 3-point shooters around Zion Williamson is the plan in New Orleans. Charlotte is up at 11, and it's interesting what I want to see them do. I think Charlotte definitely has the potential to be a playoff team next year, but lacking a very solid big man is a problem that they have. Bismack Biyombo and Cody Zeller just are not the answer for them. And unfortunately for them, I don't see a scenario where they take a very solid big at 11, because I don't see a center in this draft that's really going to make a huge difference for them with the 11th overall pick. So I think they could potentially grab someone in free agency. But for me, I have them just taking a pure scorer to come off the bench in Moses Moody. Devontae Graham could be leaving in free agency, so I think it's going to be safe for them to grab a guard. Moses Moody could do a lot for this team, and I see a lot of similarities between his teammate, which will be Terry Rozier. He could just put the ball on the ground and get buckets, and that's exactly what they need to put behind the Melo Ball off the bench in the second unit. Greg Popovich is going to love bringing another foreign player into his system in Alperen Sengun at 12. Sengun's a 6'9", undersized center, but he has tremendous footwork. He's a very smart basketball player, and if you've watched his game, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think he's going to be a very dominant center like a bunch of Tim Duncan's other bigs have been from overseas, or like a Tim Duncan, but I think having Sengun in this lineup, especially with DeRozan most likely out, who knows what they're going to do with Derek White and DeJounte Murray, he's going to get a lot of touches. I don't think he's the most NBA ready prospect yet in this entire draft, but I think Pop is going to develop a very smart basketball player with his own very smart skills. So Sengun is definitely the right option to pick here at 12. And I don't know if I'm just thinking like, hey, foreign-born player, San Antonio Spurs, the history is there, but yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking, and I think it's going to be a great fit for them. The Pacers are a weirdly solid team, and I think them having the 13th overall selection is going to help them tremendously. And Sabonis, to me, has been very solid this past season. Malcolm Brogdon started off very good, and then he kind of slowed down. Karis LeVert didn't play much with the injury, and then Miles Turner, who knows whether or not he's going to have a good game every night, or he's just going to look like a 2.5 rebound, 1 block guy. And I think bringing in a scorer from Australia and Josh Giddey is going to help this team a lot, which is providing one extra player they could go to when their key guys just aren't it. And I expect the Pacers next year to be very solid. I don't see a scenario where they shouldn't be in playoff contention again. They have an all-star player, Sabonis, a very good point guard in Malcolm Brogdon still, and then so many key other players on this team. So I think adding a 3-point shooting, Josh Giddey's a stud, and I think he is going to be tremendous from the perimeter, and I love the fit. I really do. I really like the fit for Josh Giddey at 13 to the Indiana Pacers. I don't know why I did this, but I let Corey Kispert fall to 14 for the Golden State Warriors, and they're going to get the best 3-point shooter in the draft behind Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, and the league is going to be in trouble. Yeah, enough said. Corey Kispert, the best shooter in the draft. He's NBA ready. Pairing him next to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson is going to be a problem. But hey, Golden State, you are lucky. And you just got Davion Mitchell. Oh yeah, they're going to be ready for the playoffs next year. With the first pick that's outside of the draft lottery, the Washington Wizards had the 15th overall selection, and I have them selecting Sharif Cooper Russell Westbrook, I hate to say it, is just not the long-term point guard in Washington. He's already 32 years old, and who knows what they're going to do with Bradley Beal. I think he's going to stay this season, and they're going to continue to have Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal as their two main guys. Hopefully they could get some help, because I need to see Russell Westbrook do something for once, please. But Sharife Cooper, the 6'1" point guard out of Auburn, could get buckets, he could drop dimes, he can get rebounds, he could do a lot on the offensive side of things for the Wizards off their bench. Ish Smith is just not a backup point guard in 2021. He should not be. Yeah, I like Ish Smith, he's very fast, but I would much rather have a guy like Sharife Cooper. Plus he also has sick hair, and I love Sharife Cooper's quickness. He's very explosive in the open court, and he could find his open teammates, and hopefully Davis Bertans can knock down some passes or knock down some shots being passed by Sharife Cooper every single night. OKC is back up on the clock here at 16, and I have them selecting James Bouknight out of UConn. Bouknight, 6'5", shooting guard, and he could get buckets straight to the point. He can shoot the three ball pretty well. He has a solid mid-range shot. He could get to the paint pretty solidly, but his finishing ability is unreal. He could bank it in off the glass on any sort of angle, degree of difficulty. It's unreal. I'm going to love watching him play next to Scotty Barnes, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Theo Maledon, and Lou Dort. I think those guys are going to be unreal offensively together. Bouknight is not a very good defensive player at all, but I don't think that's necessarily a thing to worry about when you have Scotty Barnes and when you're going to have Lou Dort playing next to you. So yeah, I think the UConn shooting guard is going to be a great fit in Oklahoma City. The Grizzlies here are interesting. Now, they've been drafting studs these past few years, and I think they're already very solid playoff contending team, but the only issue that I see with this team is their center position. Now, I love Jonas Valanciunas and Jaren Jackson. I think they're absolute studs and are great players in the Grizzlies rotation. But when it comes to that backup big, I don't know if Xavier Tillman is necessarily the long-term answer at the center position. So that's why I have them taking Isaiah Jackson out of Kentucky. He's 7 foot. He's very quick for his size, and he does remind me a little bit of Valanciunas. Besides the three-point ability, Isaiah Jackson can knock down the three ball, which would be great for Ja Morant to just kick it out to an open corner. Isaiah Jackson 3, and the screen and rolls between those two is going to be very good. Isaiah Jackson's not the best, doesn't have the best leaping ability, but I think he could kind of work on that. He's a bigger guy, but yeah, Isaiah Jackson is going to be a great fit to come off the bench in Memphis. And once again, I think Memphis could be a very solid playoff team, and potentially this year they don't have to play in the play-in tournament. If they even have one, it could be a top 5 seed, possibly out west. I know it's a bit of a reach, but hey, I'm high on the Grizzlies. Are you surprised to see OKC back up with another pick? Because I'm not, and I have them selecting the big man out of Texas, Kai Jones. I actually really like this kid's game. He's 20 years old. He's 6'10", sophomore, and to me, he's a very high energy big, and I know you might look at his numbers, 9 points, 5 rebounds, and think, this guy's kind of ass, but he has a lot of potential and exactly what OKC needs. OKC currently doesn't have a single big man on their roster, and they're lost out on Al Horford in the Kemba Walker trade, which I'm fine with, and then Moses Brown as well. And then Tony Bradley is restricted free agent. I see them bringing him back. But even just having Kai Jones to come off the bench, he has a lot of potential. He could switch on the defensive side of the ball. He can attack the rim and finish with a lot of energy. And I think Kai Jones will be a great fit down low for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The New York Knicks are up at 19, and I know they really need a point guard. They have Derrick Rose, but that's kind of the one thing they really lacked, especially in the playoffs this year. So I have them selecting Trey Mann, and I know a lot of Knicks fans are super high on trying to get possibly a Kawhi Leonard, even though he might be injured, but just having him play maybe in the playoffs if they were to make it next year or in the future. But I know a lot of Knicks fans also want to go after Lonzo Ball. But as a safe route, I have them selecting Trey Mann, who maybe not starting, but could come off the bench behind Derrick Rose or vice versa. He's 6'5", out of Florida, and he could create shots. He put up 16 points per game at Florida. He put up a couple assists, a couple rebounds, and he did it all in efficient scoring. He's very smooth with the ball in his hands. He could change speeds. He's very good in the open court. I do think he needs to be a little bit more aggressive. He's going to have to hit the weight room. He's kind of skinny for his size, but I'm not super worried about that. I think he's going to be a good fit under Tom Thibodeau. And I know Tibbs likes to run a defensive lineup, and Tre Mann's not the best defensive player, but I think having that pure offensive talent in New York is definitely going to help them out a lot and potentially bring them back to the playoffs once again. The team that killed the Knicks in the playoffs in Atlanta is going to be selecting Jaden Springer out of Tennessee. And Springer, in my mind, I think he's going to be the steal of the draft this year. I said it. I think Springer has the potential to be another De'Aaron Fox. I said it. He is super athletic, and I love it. I love Jaden Springer to come off the bench. Chris Dunn just did not work out for them. Lou Williams is getting old, and I think Jaden Springer filling in that backup point guard position behind Trae Young is going to be outstanding. He could pass the ball pretty well. Not that they're necessarily going to need it off the second unit, because you have Trae Young who could put up 12 assists a game on any given night, really, and 35 points. But Jaden Springer could shoot the ball. He can really finish well at the rim, and I think that's what's going to make Atlanta want to select this kid very early on in the draft at 20. So yeah, Atlanta, you are getting the steal of the draft. Mark my words, Jaden Springer is going to be a complete stud in the NBA. Hey, the Knicks are back up, and I have them taking Usman Garuba out of Spain. He's 6'8". He's a very versatile defender, and hopefully he can make a solid impact for the Knicks in the league. He's a super strong guy on the defensive end. He's not as much of a scorer. He only put up about 5 points in his 20 minutes he played per game this season. But I don't really think that's going to be an issue, because the Knicks do have a very good defensive team, and adding Usman Garuba to that team is going to be perfect for them, just to add another defensive body down low as a big. The Los Angeles Lakers were disappointing this season, even though they faced a bunch of injuries, losing in the first round to the Suns. And a lot of that was because when Anthony Davis and LeBron James were out, they didn't really have a guy that could just go out on the floor and create their own shot and get buckets. And that's exactly what Chris Duarte could do. I see a lot of similarities to like a Lou Dort, Dylan Brooks type guy. In Chris Duarte, he can really play solid defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, he can put the ball on the floor, stretch the floor pretty well in a 6'6" frame. And Duarte to come off the bench or potentially start in the Lakers uniform is going to be great for them, and maybe will provide a little bit of spark of energy for their second unit. The Houston Rockets have another pick, and I had them selecting Josh Christopher out of Arizona State. The kid's a versatile scoring machine. He's not the best at shooting the ball, but anything else on the offensive side of things, he could score. He could score layups. He could dunk the ball very well, and is an okay mid-range and turnaround game. He's not the most efficient player, but I think there's definitely a lot of room to work with. Houston's necessarily going to be a pretty bad team, I expect, next season, so I don't think it's going to be a very big worry for them if Christopher's not super efficient and super progressive that a lot of Rockets fans would like him to be in his first season. And again, with that being said, with the 24th overall pick, I have them selecting Zaire Williams, who is in a similar boat. He's super high potential for this Rockets team. He didn't put up great numbers at Stanford, and I think that he just needs time. And he's a 5-star recruit out of high school, but time is key for both of these players, Josh Christopher and Zaire Williams, and I think Houston has exactly what they need in time to develop these very versatile offensive guards at the 6'5" and 6'8". Zaire Williams, Josh Christopher are going to work very well with each other in Houston, especially next to Kevin Porter Jr., Christian Wood, and Jalen Green. Houston, you got two very solid players there. The Clippers are getting one of the best scorers in the entire draft in Cam Thomas. He was one of the league leaders in the entire NCAA in scoring. From LSU, Cameron Thomas was just a stud, and I'm super high on the kid. Unfortunately for the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard is going to be missing a lot of next season with that ACL injury, so prayers up to him. Hopefully he could get better. So I think having Cam Thomas kind of be that other scorer, potentially off the bench or in the starting unit next to Paul George, is definitely going to help them out a lot. It's going to be tough for the Clippers to kind of realize they may not be championship contending team next year, especially without Kawhi Leonard. But who knows what can happen. Cam Thomas is going to be a good fit on that Clippers rotation. And yeah, we'll see if he can continue his elite level scoring at a pro level in the NBA. With the 26th overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft, I have the Denver Nuggets selecting Trey Murphy III out of Virginia. He's a very versatile offensive guy. He could pass the ball better than a lot of people in this entire draft. And I think losing out on Gary Harris and potentially not having Jamal Murray for a portion of next season, having a good shooting guard, point guard, and Trey Murphy is going to be great for them. He shows a lot of potential. He's a great pick and pop scorer. And Trey Murphy, to me, is one of the underrated guards in this entire draft. So I think putting him next to Kevin Porter Jr., or Michael Porter Jr., excuse me, Nikola Jokic, and then a couple of the other younger guys, is going to be great for them. And hopefully Denver next year can make a nice little run like they did in the bubble. The Brooklyn Nets are going to be adding a veteran point guard in the college level in Jared Butler. He was a champion at Baylor, and I think he's going to be a great win now guy in Brooklyn. They don't necessarily need a guy to come in and just be very raw for them. So that's why I think Jared Butler falling to 27 is going to be great for them. He could provide great on-ball defense. You could knock down the three ball and give it to him. I don't think he's necessarily going to be getting a lot of minutes in the rotation next season, but hey, Brooklyn could get a fairly young guy in their team, and I think that's exactly what they need to have a defensive-minded guy coming off their bench in their second or third unit potentially. The Philadelphia 76ers, once again, are going to be selecting the same guy I had them selecting in last mock draft video in Day'Ron Sharpe. Sharpe is one of the only big men to go in this entire first round. He's 6'11". He is a very big guy. He has a body similar to Shaquille O'Neal. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be as great as Shaquille O'Neal or as dominant, but he has similar comparisons, especially on the offensive side of things. He can attack the rim with extreme force, and I think that's what Philly needs. It's kind of that energy big man, especially behind Joel Embiid. I don't know if Dwight Howard, he's getting up there in age, is even going to be playing in the NBA next season. And if he is, I don't think he's going to have as great of an impact on Philly as he did this year. Who knows if they're going to be getting a big man in a potential Ben Simmons trade. But again, just in case, I have them selecting Day'Ron Sharpe here out of North Carolina. With the second to last pick in the first round, I have the Phoenix Suns, who are 2 games away from potentially winning the NBA Finals, selecting Quentin Grimes out of Houston. Sorry if I don't know how to pronounce your name, Quentin, but I think I got it right. Quentin is a very good three-point shooter, and I have them selecting him kind of the similar role of what Cam Johnson has been doing, same with Mikal Bridges, and that's a good offensive scorer as well as a great on-ball defender. Grimes has a big 6'5" frame in my opinion. I don't know if that's exactly true, if he's actually 6'5", but to me, he looks like he's more of like a 6'7", 6'8" type of guy. And I think Grimes is going to fit right in, especially behind Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre, and all those guys are going to love having a great high-energy guy. He's a great character. He's very nice and friendly. And I think he's going to be a great locker room piece to have in Phoenix. And Monty Williams is going to love this kid. With the final selection in the first round, I have Miles McBride going to the Utah Jazz. He's going to be staying in that yellow and green like he wore at West Virginia, and I love this selection here by the Jazz. It gives them another option off the bench. He's a great scorer. He could facilitate the floor solidly. I don't see him playing the point guard as much as I see him running maybe the 2 guard and being kind of a backup behind Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell, but he could drop buckets. And to me, if he could put up maybe just 10 points a game off the bench, that'll be a perfect selection for them here at 30. But yeah, so that's going to wrap up the entire first round. Thank you everybody for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. I know I'm going to get a lot of feedback in the comments, whether that's positive or negative. It happens every time I make a mock draft video, but hey, I love reading every single one of you guys' comments. It actually means a lot to me that people are watching the video and leaving feedback for me. So yeah, I want you to do that exact same thing. If you're still watching the video here, let me know how I did in the comment section below. I'm super excited for this draft, and hopefully every single team could just win the draft, because that's what I love. I just love seeing great teams do great things in basketball. OKC a little more than everyone else. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave it a like. I'm super excited to watch the NBA draft coming up. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.